What is going on, YouTube? Fascinating Graveyard. And today we are in the Hoffman Cemetery here in Hoffman, Oklahoma. We're about, I want to say, an hour south of Tulsa, Oklahoma. I just got done doing a video on my other channel about a murder that occurred, well, murder times 6, that happened in Henrietta, which is the town over. And today we're at the cemetery because we're going to visit the final resting place of Arthur Lee Burney, murder victim. His story was dramatized on the YouTube channel True Crime Daily. So if you don't know the story or you haven't seen it, I'm going to tell you really quickly. Arthur Lee Burney was 53 years old at the time of his murder. This guy was a mechanic. He worked out in Tulsa. He lived in Coweta. Coweta is about 20 minutes down the highway from Tulsa / Broken Arrow, that area over there. So this guy was previously married to a woman and had, I believe, 2 adult daughters. Now, for some unknown reason, sometime in the mid-90s, he got a divorce from his wife. Now, his kid said, and later on in an interview, that maybe he was having a midlife crisis and he was getting bored in his marriage. Hey, maybe he wants to try something new. Whatever the case might be, he wanted a divorce and his wife granted him said divorce. They get a divorce. Now he's a single guy. Guys goes out to, the bar on the weekends, parties, not parties, but, goes out to have drinks and then goes back to work Monday through Friday to do it all over again. So this guy meets a bartender by the name of Patricia Meeks. Dresses kind of flashy. Maybe he thinks that she's kind of sexy, whatever the case might be. So they start dating and they're instantly smitten with each other. They fly over to Las Vegas to get married in 1995. They come back to Oklahoma, and Patricia and Arthur end up having a daughter by the name of Michelle. Now, it looks like these people, Patricia and Arthur, they're married, but things are getting a little bit boring in their marriage. See, Patricia likes to go out and party and drink, probably do some other stuff. And Arthur is a homebody. He likes to, stay on his ranch. It's like a little ranch style house, and tend to his horses, drink beer and just chill out. You know what I mean? Patricia's getting bored. She's getting tired of this guy, actually, to tell you the truth. And as they're raising their daughter, Michelle, they both have different parenting choices or skills or whatever you want to call it. Arthur is, has a teenage daughter. He's I guess you would not even call him strict. He's just a regular dad. There's rules to go by in this household. Patricia, however, doesn't think that Michelle needs these binding rules for her daughter to live the life that she wanted to live. Now, looking at their relationship, you ever know somebody that has a daughter, but they treat their daughter more like their friend than their daughter? Because that's what's going on over here. So Patricia is a bad influence on her daughter. She's letting her daughter go out at all times of, going out at night, all times of the night going out. She sneaks her own daughter into some of the bars that she's going to in and around the Wagoner County area. Oh, and she lets her daughter date older guys. One time, Arthur comes home and sees an older guy at their home. Maybe he's in his late teens, and his daughter is sitting on his lap. So they have a big fight about it, and he tells Patricia, I don't want my daughter associating with older guys. Silly things like that. Patricia's getting really tired of this guy's nonsense. And Michelle's getting tired of her dad telling her what to do, trying to instill rules and discipline and all that kind of nonsense in the family home. One day, Patricia gets a real crazy idea. She tells her daughter, hey, you know what would be awesome? If your dad were to die, he has a little bit of a life insurance policy. If he were to die, we can both do what we want. And any normal person would say like, yeah, right. You would kind of like shine them off. But her daughter was like, you know what? Now that I think about it, yeah, this guy sucks. Yeah, my dad sucks. Let's go ahead and do something about it. So these two nitwits start concocting a plan to kill Arthur. Now, first, I believe Arthur had some kind of a heart problem, right? He's not the healthiest of guy. I think he was smoking cigarettes and drinking beer. Not a healthy guy, a little overweight. And, you know, they originally tried overdosing him with Viagra to hopefully induce some kind of a heart attack. And they were trying this for a hot minute, and that didn't work. So they really just start, you know, they're brainstorming. Like, we got to kill this guy. I want that life insurance money, baby. Meanwhile, Michelle, I think she's on some kind of online, internet, dating site, whatever. So she meets this guy. His name is Michael Richardson, this purple-haired weirdo right here, right? He's 19, she's 14. And Patricia Broad is allowing her daughter to talk to a 19-year-old. Guys, she's 14 freaking years old. So they're getting to know each other, Michelle and Michael. And, you know, she's getting to know Michael as well, Patricia. So she says to Michael one day, you know, as they're talking, she says, hey, listen, I got a proposal for you. And he says, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I'll give you $6,000 to kill my husband. Now, any normal guy would say like, yeah, let me think about that. And then they would probably call the police. They would probably call the police. But this guy, Michael, is not a normal person. I mean, look at him, for God's sake. He has purple hair. Come on. So he says, you know what? That's a lot of money, $6,000. I could buy a car. I could buy a car with that. And Patricia tells him, she says, not only will I give you $6,000, but you can have all of the underage sex with my daughter that you can possibly stand, you little horny pervert. Now his ears perk up. Wow, sex? Okay, let's do it. So they start planning on the murder of Arthur Burney. So we're going to go to February 18th of 2011. It's nighttime, kids. It's time for action. So Patricia and Michelle, they go pick up Michael. I believe he lived in, I want to say he lived in, I know he lived in a big city. He might have lived in Broken Arrow, don't quote me, but he lived in a city. So they go out there to pick him up and they bring him back. And they said, okay, look, here's the plan. Shh, here's the plan. Here's the plan. You're going to get the .22 caliber rifle that we have. And when he comes home, he's gonna go to the barn and play with his stupid horses, and you're going to kill him. And Michael says, got it. Yep, let's do this. And she tells her daughter, she says, hey, take Michael out in the back for some practice shots. You got to practice. So they go in the backyard and, you know, he's working that rifle, pow, 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 whatever, you know. And then he's like, all right, I'm ready to go. Arthur comes home, goes into the barn. Michael is waiting for him. And right behind him, he sneaks up behind Arthur, puts the rifle to his head, and pulls the trigger. And then Patricia comes into the barn, pretends to discover that her husband is dead. She doesn't know what's going on. She calls 911. She's crying on the phone. The dispatcher is trying to tell her like what to do, how to do CPR because he has like some blood coming from his head from the gunshot wound. By the time the paramedics come by, he's already dead. Now, if this murder would have happened in the 30s, nobody would have ever found out that this was in fact a murder because the entry wound with the rifle was so small, and combine that with the fact that this guy had a heart attack, that he had heart problems, they would have believed that he had a heart attack, and that would have been it. But of course, they did the autopsy, and the medical examiner doing the autopsy says, oh, look, according to this x-ray, even though they think that, oh, this guy had a heart attack, hit his head and, whatever. Nope. They see, in the x-ray, they see that bullet in his head. This is a murder. Here we go. I could have really picked a better color bandana to match my faded black shirt. And I'm wearing these stupid Bluetooth headphones. So anyways. So as Arthur's body is at the county coroner's office, Patricia and Michelle are so excited that this guy is dead. And actually, Michelle was so excited for the upcoming date of her father's murder that she posted on her Facebook page a couple days before the murder was to occur, quote, "I'm ready for Saturday to get here." Yeah, you're ready for Saturday to get here because you can't wait to murder your father, you little skank. Don't want to yell too loudly. I don't want to disturb the neighbors. But stories like this really piss me off. So, as the detectives are investigating, when they figure out that this is a murder instead of a heart attack, which is what people were thinking in the beginning, there's a problem with getting somebody to confess to this murder because, like I told you earlier in the video, Michelle and Patricia, they're not like mother and daughter. No, these broads, they're like best friends. Best friends to the end. And the detectives, they're trying to figure out, like, how can we get them separated so we can get one to spill the beans on the other? And then finally, like, a lot of 14-year-old girls, what do they and broken refrigerators have in common? They both can't keep nothing. And Michelle finally confides to her cousin, stating that we killed him. Now, at first, I'm sure the cousin was like, whoa. Oh, okay. So I believe it is the cousin, or at least a very, very good friend. I think it's the cousin. So the cousin goes to the detectives, thus even further confirming their suspicions that these two dingalings had something to do with this murder. The problem is getting Michelle into the station, keeping them separate so she can spill the beans. So I don't know how they did this, but they got some kind of an order from the court to take Michelle out of the family home, and they put her into some kind of juvenile, not a detention center, but kind of like a foster home, some kind of teenager home, something like that, to get her away. And then finally the detectives, they get a hold of her and they said, okay, listen, we know what's going on here. Your father didn't have a heart attack. Your father was shot and killed, and we believe you have something to do with it. So they're talking to her, they're talking to her friends, they're talking to her boyfriend, Michael. So they get Michael in the interrogation room, and he sings like a bad night of karaoke. This guy just basically readily admits that he shot Arthur Burney. He tells them everything they want to know. He tells them that he was promised $6,000 and underage sex. Don't forget that part. So he spills the beans on Michelle and Patricia, and when they're pressing Michelle to confess, she finally says this. She basically says, all right, listen, I don't want my mom to get the death penalty. If you promise that you will not go after the death penalty for my mom, I'll confess. And that's exactly what she did. She tells him the story. My dad was very controlling. He never let me do anything. He never let me have any fun. And my mother concurs, so we planned on killing him, and then we did. And she implicates her mother. They grab her. She denies everything. Blah, blah, blah. They play her the tape that her daughter says that, yes, it was her plan all along. All three idiots are arrested and charged with first-degree murder, amongst other charges. And it took a while for the justice system to do its job, but eventually all three were convicted. Now, Michael Richardson, he pled to second-degree murder, and he received a 28-year sentence. So according to my math, 28-year sentence at 85% time. I'm guessing that he will eventually probably get out in the mid-2030s, somewhere around there. Patricia Burney, she received life in prison. She'll never, ever, ever, ever get out, see the light of day. And Michelle Burney, this little weasel, ends up being charged as a juvenile, and she does 5 years. She was released when she turned 19 years of age, and last time we checked, she was living her life somewhere in Arizona. Well, if you're watching this video, you little floozy, this is your father's grave, and I'm sure you've been here already. This is their father who raised you, who tried to instill discipline in your life and tried to prevent you from growing up to being a disgusting, creepy loser. And for that, you killed him. This is his grave. A man who wanted nothing more than to raise you properly, to raise you in a good family environment, and you paid him back by murdering him with you and your dumb idiot mother and that goofy-haired freak nerd. You should have spent the rest of your frickin' life in prison. You are so frickin' lucky because you planned this murder. I like what you said on your Facebook, and I love how you can't get into your Facebook because you probably forgot the password because you've been sitting and rotting in prison. Quote, "I'm stressed as bleep. People need to leave me the bleep alone and let me deal with it the way I need to." You mean deal with the guilt of killing your own father, you dingbat? Does anybody know who this broad is? Does anybody know who Michelle Burney is? Where does she live? I might want to pay her a visit and ask her why she felt the need to kill her father. Are you dating? Is there a guy out there? Is this your girlfriend? Your girlfriend murdered her dad. Does any guy know her? You got friends? Anybody know this woman? Leave a comment below. Tell me, does anybody know this murderer? I don't care if she was 14. She's still a freaking murderer as far as I'm concerned. You should have got at least the same sentence as your creepy boyfriend. Oh well. You'll get yours in the end. Believe you me, because forever and a day, you must go through life knowing that you're a murderer. And yeah, you know what? More than likely, your juvenile record was sealed. But, I don't know if you filed for a legal name change or whatever. You probably should. Because anytime people look you up, they're going to find, oh, you murdered your father. Oh, okay. I see. All right, guys. My name is Lamont, Fascinating Graveyard. I'm out of here. I'm hitting the road. Rest in peace to Arthur Burney, simply a man who wanted to raise his daughter the right way. Little did he know, the little girl that he would raise, his little princess, turned out to be the ultimate nightmare. I'll catch up with you on the next video. Peace out.